Hey everyone, welcome to our NFL Conference Championship Best Bets video. So we'll be looking at the best bets for both of our playoff round games this Sunday, January 28th, 2024. So we have the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. And like I mentioned, we are going to be focusing on the best bets portion. So that's the money lines, spreads, and the over-under. So hit that like button and subscribe. And let's go ahead and get things started. So kicking things off, 3 p.m. on CBS this Sunday, January 28th, we have the 11-6 Kansas City Chiefs versus the 13-4 Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be in Baltimore. Baltimore comes in as 4-point favorites, and the over-under is 44.5. So this spread is actually starting to inch up throughout the week as of right now. But it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. So we obviously have the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. Both of them have top 5 defenses as of right now. The Ravens have the number 1 defense. So it's top defense versus top defense. So look for these defenses basically to just basically be trying to keep the game close. So trying to keep the game within reach for their offense to be able to score enough points. Defenses are going to keep this usually a lower scoring game. Defense travels. So the Kansas City's defense should be playing well. Baltimore's defense should be playing well. They are at home and they are rested. Where these two teams separate is on the offensive side of the ball. So obviously this is not the Chiefs' offense of the last 5 years. They have actually been a team carried by their defense this year, and they've only had an average offense with Mahomes and Kelsey. Pretty much outside of them, there's been a lot of question marks. Pacheco has come on the last few weeks. Rice has come on the last few weeks, but there's been a lot of drop passes. So this is not the elite Chiefs offense of the last 5 years. This is just an average offense, but they do run the ball pretty well. It's still Mahomes, it's still Andy Reid, it's still Travis Kelsey. So you don't want to overlook them because they're experienced. They can make big plays when they have to make big plays. If it's 3rd and long, you know Mahomes is going to Travis Kelsey, and he's going to catch it, and he's going to get a first down. That's just the way things work. But looking at the Ravens roster, this is obviously the number 1 or the number 2 total complete roster in the NFL, top to bottom on both sides of the ball and special teams, with an experienced coaching staff led by Harbaugh. This team can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They're the number 1 rushing team in all of football. When they have to pass it, when they have to get long first downs, Lamar Jackson has really come on passing the ball the last 2 to 3 years. And they have Mark Andrews back. That's an elite level tight end. He's not as good as Kelsey, but he's obviously a top 3 tight end, probably the number 2 tight end. He's elite. If it's 3rd and long, Lamar Jackson has a security blanket that he can throw the ball down to fight to get that first down. And he always has that security blanket of his elite defense to keep the game close. But the Ravens are the favorites here at home. Looking at the total team stats here, you have the Kansas City coming in. They average 21.8 points per game. Baltimore 28.4 points per game. And on defense to elite defenses, the Chiefs give up 17.3 points per game. Baltimore gives up 16.5 points per game. As we touched on, the defenses almost cancel each other out. The main difference with these two teams is the offense. You have Mahomes. He's the number 1 quarterback in all of the NFL for probably the last 4 to 5 years. But Lamar Jackson is the MVP this year. So it's the perennial number 1 quarterback versus the current MVP, and the Ravens are those 4-point favorites with the over-under at 44.5. I'm going to go with the Ravens getting the win here. I'm going to go with them winning 27-24. So I'm going with that +4, but I will be going with the over in this game. The Ravens have had issues beating the Chiefs for the last few years, but I think this is the year that they get past the hump. They get past it. But the Chiefs are very experienced. They're looking for their 4th Super Bowl with Mahomes and Andy Reid. They've been here before. They've gotten through this. You never want to underestimate experience. That can be a massive difference maker. But it just seems like this whole year, this is finally Baltimore's year to get back to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to be going with Baltimore. I wouldn't be surprised if that line comes back down, to the 2 or 3 area. But it has been slowly moving up throughout the week. But we're going to go with the Ravens getting the win here. And the next game and final game we're going to look at 6:30 p.m. on Fox this Sunday, the 12-5 Detroit Lions versus the 12-5 San Francisco 49ers. This is the NFC Championship game. San Francisco comes in here as 7-point favorites. The over-under is 51.5. I mentioned in my previous video that I thought that line was going to be coming down, but Deebo Samuel was limited at practice today. He had not been previously playing. He has been banged up. He was limited at practice today. Obviously, the game's not that many days from now, but that's a potential positive sign. If he gets cleared to play, that I'm pretty sure that line's going to start ticking up now. If they say he's not playing, if it's a game time decision, if they say he's not playing as of Saturday, I see that line going down to maybe 6 or so. But if they say he's going to play, I could see that going up to 8, 7.5, 8 on the spread. But as of right now, he's playing in a limited scale. So that's massive news if you are a San Francisco 49ers fan. Detroit, though. Detroit picked up right where they left off last year. They came out the gate first half this year, lighting things up. The offense was playing well. Defense was playing well. Goff was having a great season. Then they hit that week 7 or 8, and they got really sloppy. The offense started having a lot of turnovers, and the defense basically gets scorched every single week since then. Now, the last 3 to 4 weeks of the regular season, they kind of got things right. The offense stopped turning the ball over. They have not turned the ball over the whole playoffs so far. Defense has gotten better, but obviously they're still giving up a lot of points. That's still their Achilles heel, as they give up too many points. You can throw all over Detroit. They have the 3rd worst passing defense in the NFL. So if you're going to beat them, it's going to be vertically through the air. When you start scorching teams through the air, they have to push the linebackers back. They have to push these safeties out. So that also opens up the run game. This is one of the worst teams that you want to play like that on. Because if you let the 49ers pass on you, they have weapons. They have Brock Purdy having a really good passing year so far this year. They have Kittle. They have Debo. They have Ayuk. They have the weapons there. So if you try to keep the safeties back, push the linebackers out, and then you try to force San Francisco to run the ball, they're perfectly fine doing that. They have a great O-line. They have the number 1 running back in all of football. They have Christian McCaffrey. He had 1,500 yards this year, 14 touchdowns. Guy went off. So they're perfectly fine with that. If you want to stack the line, they'll throw on you. If you want to lessen up the line, try to push the safeties back, they'll run on you. They can beat you passing, throwing, special teams. They can beat you on defense. So just like the Chiefs and Ravens, 49ers also have a top 5 defense, and they have a top 5 offense. So them and the Ravens, the 2 best top to bottom rosters in all of the NFL, both of them top 5 offenses, both of them top 5 defense. So they're a very well-rounded team. They're a very well-coached team. The Lions, though, Dan Campbell has this team believing. They've had a chip on their shoulder the whole season. This team hadn't won a playoff game in 32 years. Came out this playoffs, they now have 2 wins. So they've completely gotten that chip off of their shoulder. They're back in the playoffs. Now, going forward, they are a legitimate NFC championship type team. So they've finally gotten over there. Do not overlook the Lions. A lot of people are giving them no props to win this game because of their defense, and the 49ers have gotten a lot of praise so far this year. A lot of people have the 49ers as the number 1 team the whole season, but it seems like whenever the 49ers fall off, they really stink. They never have a close game that they lose. When they're bad, Purdy has 3 picks. Outside of that, he's great. It's just whenever the game is put on his shoulders and he has to win the game, things start getting really sloppy. Defense starts giving up points. But that's like 5% of the games. But if this game ends up being one of those 5% games, it's going to be a really long night for the 49ers. But outside of that, they are the favorites for a reason. Because on paper, they should beat the Lions. Stacked team, offense, defense, and the fact that they can beat you multiple ways. That's one of the things that separates them from the Lions and from the Chiefs as well. Only the Ravens can also say that. But when you look at these 2 team stats here, you have the Lions coming in. They average 27.1 points per game. So Detroit can score with you. If this game turns into a shootout, the Lions are perfectly fine with that. They can technically go blow for blow offensive-wise. They can run the ball. They have St. Brown at wide receiver. That guy's a beast. He had 1,500 yards this season. And the 49ers average 28.9 points per game, a really good offense. And on defense, that's where these teams separate. So Detroit gives up 23.2 points per game. San Francisco gives up 17.5 points per game. So San Francisco does have a slight edge on offense, and they definitely have the edge on defense. But the Lions are on a mission. They have something to prove. Dan Campbell's a tough coach. So this team's going to be tough, gritty. Looking at the final score, I have the 49ers getting the win 30-21. So I have them covering that spread, but I am going just barely with the under. Why is this score just a couple points different than my previous score? Because Debo's practicing. So I'm basing this off of Debo playing as of right now. If he plays, but he's basically playing questionably and he's just in there for 5 snaps, obviously that's a big difference. If he doesn't play, then I could see that line coming down and my original prediction would still stand. But as of right now, because he's practicing, I'm going off of him playing with the score. So I have the 49ers winning 30-21. Like I said, covering the spread, but I'll be going with the under. So that's my breakdown of the NFL Conference Championships, AFC and NFC for this week. So I have the 2 number 1 seeds matching up, the Baltimore Ravens versus the San Francisco 49ers. So finally a 1-on-1 matchup, and that should be a really good Super Bowl. It's 2 really stacked, well-rounded teams. But hit that like button and subscribe, and if you have any comments, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.